We're on now. I'm sorry, Pei Heyam Beis. Lola Kol Omer Rabbi Meir Shchita Shena Ru'uya Shmei Shchita. There are situations, says Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Abba, sorry, where even Rabbi Meir holds that Shchita Shena Ru'uya is not a Shchita. What's that? Hold Rabbi Meir She'ein Matirosa B'Achila. The Gemara is going to assume we talk about a treifa. V'lo Kol Omer Reb Shimon Shchita Shena Ru'uya Lo Shmei Shchita. Mod Reb Shimon Shemitarasa Midei Nevela. So on the one hand, the Gemara is saying that Rebbe Meir, who holds that Shchita Shena Ru'uya Shmei Shchita, but he admits that if you shechted a treifa, you can't eat the meat. And Reb Shimon, who on the other hand holds Shchita Shena Ru'uya Lo Shmei Shchita, nevertheless he knows and admits that the Shchita of a treifa is Metar Midei Nevela. In fact, the Gemara, Omar Mar, what did Rabbi come to tell me over here? Lola Kol Rabbi Shchita Shena Ru'uya Shmei Shchita. Treifa b'shchita b'shtarya. Did anybody entertain the possibility that you could be matir achila of a treifa? Treifa means you can't eat the meat. Lo tzricha. Now we get into complications. Why? Because it's a shochet, a treifa, matzava mentisha chai. So it turned out the mother was a treifa, but a ben pkua means that there was a fetus that was full 9 months and stood on 4 feet, came out of its mother's belly. And Salkadait meint him thing hold the shchita of the mother might be meaningful to be matir the basar of a ben pkua. And shchita say mahani labas. The shchita can't be matir the mother. That's because the mother's a treifa. But the shchita of a treifa is meaningful. It's teheni le shchita sima v'lo liboy shchita. Maybe we would say in such a case, according to Rabbi Meir, that you don't require shchita for the fetus. Kamash Malan, Rabbi Abba says that far Rabbi Meir didn't go. Although Rabbi Meir holds shchita shena ruya shmei shchita, and you're going to be chayav if you shech the treifa for kisei adam. But he would not say that the shchita of the mother, who's a treifa, would be meaningful and substitute for the need of shchita for the fetus that's 9 months in its mother's body. Affecting Gemara v'tizbara, v'amar Rabbi Meir ben pkuaton shchita. How could you have a havamina and allow this thought to cross your mind that Rabbi Meir would say that the shchita of the mother is meaningful for the ben pkua for the 9-month fetus, when we have an explicit statement of Rabbi Meir that ben pkua needs its own shchita. Lo tzricha, the Rebbe savar like Rabbi Meir v'savar like Rabbanon. We need Rabbi Abba according to the opinion of Rebbe. Why? Because Rebbe accepted Rabbi Meir in one dimension, but he rejected it in another. Savar like Rabbi Meir de'am shchita shena ru'uya shma shchita v'savar like Rabbanon de'am shchitas imo mitaraso. Wow. With regard to Ben Pkua, Rebbe accepted the Shittas Chachamim against Rabbi Meir that the shchita of the mother is meaningful for the fetus. Meaning it's matir achila for the Ben Pkua. Tahani le shchitas imo v'lo liboy shchita. Therefore, the shchita of the mother should be effective for the fetus, and the fetus doesn't require its own shchita. Is Kamash Malan that Rabbi Abba comes to tell you the Rabbi Meir and Rebbe who accepts Rabbi Meir, they didn't see the mother's shchita as capable of permitting the consumption of the fetus. Where does Rabbi Shimon accept and validate the shchita? Is Mod Rabbi Shimon Shemitaros Midei Nevela, if you shecht a treifa, it's tar. The carcass is not mitami nevela pshita. We know this. I don't need Rabbi Abba for that. The Yomer Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Amilei Vaslisata. V'chi Yomus Min HaBehema. What does it mean, Min HaBehema? Mixas behema mitamo, mixas behema ena mitamo. What does that mean? Mixas behema is mitama, but mixas behema ena mitama. What does that mean? Zu treifus shechata. Anyway, the Brisa says that we derive from a pasuk, and Rabbi Shimon doesn't disagree with the pasuk, that the shechita of the treifa will remove the carcass from the status of the veil. That's not mitam. So Gemara answers, what did Rabbi Abba come to teach me? Lo tzricha l'sholcheres hatreifa v'hu chulin v'hi chulin ba'azor. Now here's a complicated case. The animal's a treifa, it's chulin, and he went ahead, he shechted inside the azor. Now you're not allowed to shecht chulin in the azor. The animal becomes osir bahana. However, what happens if the animal's a treifa? That's a big machlokas. Because is that really chulin ba'azor? Tisanya, Ashoket is a treifa, v'chein Ashoket v'nimtza is treifa, right? Whether we knew it was a treifa up front or we found out after the shechita that it was a treifa. Zeh v'zeh chulin ba'azara, and both cases of treifa was chulin sheneshketu ba'azara. Reb Shimon mate ba'ana. Reb Shimon holds that shechita of chulin ba'azara does not generate an isur hana. This is a whole sugi kedushin. The Chacham say that shchitas chulin ba'azara generates an isur hana. Salkadak, I would have thought. You can't classify this as chulin that was shechted be'azara. Why? Because Rabbi Shimon is of the opinion that the animal is mutar ba'no because it's not a shechita at all. And if it's not a shechita at all, it can't generate an isur hana of chulin ba'azara. I might go a step further and meet it nami lo mitara. If it's not a shechita at all, then maybe we could say that shechita would not even effectuate tara minavela. Kamash Malan, that's what Rabbi Abba wants to tell us. The Rabbi Shimon admits that this shechita is meaningful, and it is mitayr the carcass from tumas nevela, even though it doesn't generate an isur hana. So you would have thought that since it doesn't generate an isur hana, it's not a shechita at all. No, we're saying it is a shechita, and even though it's chulin ba'azara, although Rav Shimon denies that it's osir ba'ana, in that context it's not a shechita, but yet it is a shechita to be mitar midei nevela. Amalei Rav Papa Labaye v'savar Rav Shimon chulin ba'azara d'oraisa. I don't get it. You've been assuming that the isur of shchitas chulin in the azara is d'oraisa according to Rav Shimon, and the whole chiddush of Rav Shimon is that it's not osir ba'ana. But is this really so? Amalei in. I'm going to prove to you that Rav Shimon holds that chulin shenishketu ba'azara is an isur d'oraisa. Even Rav Shimon is moda, even though he holds there's no isur hana. Basnan, and here we get a mishnah from Tmura. Rav Shimon Omer chulin shenishketu ba'azara yisarfu beish. If you went ahead and you shechted chulin in the azara, you have to burn it. Now, why do you have to burn it if it's not osir ba'ana? I don't know. Maybe it's only osir ba'ana d'Rabbanan. V'chein chaya shenishketu ba'azara. Iyam epishlei d'oraisa, lechul ba'azara is d'oraisa, hainu tigazrinon chaya otu behema. Now, a chaya that was shechted in the azara, which is an animal that could never be brought on the mizbeach, we have to introduce a gzera, right? Because had it been a behema, which is royal mizbeach, and you shechted Chulin Bazara, then it would be also Bano. So we have to say that even if you shechted a chaya in the Azara, since you might come to have Hana from a behema that was shechted in the Azara, therefore the Rabbanan are going to say don't have any Hana even from a chaya that was shechted in the Azara, even though it's not really subject to the law of Chulin Bazara because it cannot be brought on the Mizbeach. Now we have a problem called Gzeira L'Gzeira. If you're going to tell me that the whole reason, according to Reb Shimon, that Chulin that was shechted in the Azara is only D'Rabbanan, is Behema my time, and Behema itself is only D'Rabbanan. Why? Because if you allow him to bring Chulin into the Azara and shechted in the Azara, then he may do in the flip side Kodesh B'chutz. Like Chulin Bazara, the flip side of Kodesh B'chutz. And now you're going to tell me that in the case of a Chaya, Reb Shimon is going to say that you're not allowed to benefit from the Chaya that was shechted in the Azara, and it was Chulin, because you might come to be Nene from Chulin Bazara, if Chulin Bazara itself is the Rabbanan, because of Kodesh B'chutz. Is he Gufa Gzeira of Hanan Nikum V'nigzar Gzeira L'Gzeira? We don't have such a thing as a Gzeira L'Gzeira. You don't pile up one Gzeira on top of the other. So we have to assume, as Abaye wants to say to Rav Papa, that now we've proven that according to Rabbi Shimon, Chulin Bazara is Doraisa. Rab Chia Nafale Yaniva Bekisne. He has moths attacking his flax. So how do you get rid of moths in a flax? Through the blood of a bird. Also, Kami to Rebbe. Reb Chia was desperate. He needed that flax and he couldn't get rid of the moths. He comes to Rebbe and he wants to get a piece of advice. Amalei, Rebbe says to him, Shkol Ofa, take a bird. Ushchot al bubisa demai. Okay, so let's leave out bubisa demai for just 5 seconds. Demorach doma v'shavachle. What's going to happen is the moths are allergic to the smell of the blood, and they're going to just jump out of the flax. Wait a second. That's a problem. Because he's going to take the blood for his own purposes to get rid of the moths in the flax, and he won't be Makayim, he'll be Mavatal, the mitzvah of Kisi Adam. So Rebbe is smart, and Rebbe tells him, you know what? Shech the bird on top of a water bubisa is a trough. They used to take the flax and soak it in the bubisa and go shech the bird on top of the bubisa. The blood is going to fall down and the moths are going to run away. So the Gemara asks, how could he allow that? To take the blood for yourself? Let it go into the water and where the flax is soaking? I mean, what about Kisi Adam? The mitzvah is Kisi Adam. If in any situation you need the dam, and therefore you're going to say, well, I'm going to take the dam and I'm not going to cover it, is the Brisa says explicitly, if you went ahead and you shechted the oaf or the chaya and you need its blood, you have to do kisa. You can't take it for yourself. Oh, kesad yasa. So how do you do a shechita that circumvents the need for kisi adam, so you can take the dam for yourself? Oh, nocharo, oh, okro. But now, Rebbe is advising Reb Chia to take the bird, slaughter it over the water trough, in order to preclude the mitzvah of Kisi Adam. But how can you do that? I mean, he could have told him, pierce the simonim or rip them out or whatever it is, but he told him to shecht it. And the shechita itself is going to be mechayev Kisi Adam. How can he now use the dam, to get rid of the moths? Ki also have dimi omar say trof omar le. He got the story wrong. What did Rebbe tell Reb Chia? He said, first, make the bird into a treifa. And after you make the bird into a treifa, then go ahead and shecht it. Another option, ki asa Ravin. Rava said the story was not told properly. What did Rebbe tell Reb Chia? Say nechar amarle. Don't do a shechita. Now the Gemara goes through a whole rigmarole. Why the two options were respectively presented. Rav Dimi, make a treifa Ravin, do an achira. Lamandi Omer say trov. Why did he reject that possibility that say nechar? I mean, that seems like Rebbe should have given that option. And if you'll tell me because Torah, maybe he'll say that according to Rebbe, there's no requirement to shchita min Torah in an oath. And therefore, the Torah says instead of doing shchita on an oath, you do nechira on an oath, and the nechira equals shchita. And therefore, Rebbe couldn't have given the option of tzei unachar because that would generate a chiyuv of kisi adam. But Rebbe Omer, kasher tzivisicha malamich and it's tab emoshal aveshet valakon ve'alrov echad be'of. Meaning, in behema you need to shet two simon. In oath you only have to shet one of the two simonim. Or rov shnayim behema. Rov echad be'of, rov shnayim behema. But anyway, we see clearly that Rebbe holds that shchita is doraisa in oath, and it's derived from the pasuk kasher tzivisicha. So once again, we're back to square one. Why Rav Dimi didn't explain Rebbe that Rebbe would have given the advice to Rav Chia to pierce the do nechira. Here on the top, pevab lomi boy kama. Rav Dimi never meant to deny the possibility that Rebbe would have advised Rav Chia to do nechira lomi boy tzei nechar. That's for sure. You can go and pierce the bird, and he's parted from kisa because there was no shchita. Lav shchita. Avol tzeu trov. Maybe you would have said that Rebbe would not have given advice to Reb Chia to make the bird into a treifa because because the whole purpose of Rebbe's advice was to teach Reb Chia how he could circumvent the chiyuv of kisi adam, and the blood could go down into the water trough and the moths would fly away. But you might have thought that that option of making let's say, piercing one of the organs of the oath is not an option because shchita sheina ruya, shma shchita, and it does generate kisi adam. Is kamash malon. That's what Rav Dimi wants to tell me, that of course Rebbe, it goes without saying, could have advised Reb Chia to avoid shchita by doing nechira, and we're hoping that shchita's oath is doraisa. But what Rav Dimi wanted to tell you, that Rebbe had a bigger chiddush that he wanted to teach Rabbi Chia, namely that if he goes ahead and does an act of treifa, and the bird is now a treifa, then the shchita of the treifa is a shchita sheina ru'uya and lav shmo shchita, and therefore he's not chayav kisi adam, and he could use the dam for his purposes. Now let's go the other way around, and with this we'll conclude. Right, Ravin was the one who said that. What did Rebbe advise Reb Chia? Go and pierce the bird's pipes. My time along would say trov. May you go through the logic that we just suggested before. Kosovar, maybe he understood according to Rebbe that shchita sheina ruya shma shchita, and therefore if he made a treifa in the bird, he would still be chayav kisi adam because shchita sheina ruya shma shchita. Va'omar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan Ra Divrei Rebbe Dvarav Shel Rabbi Shimon Bekisi Adam Ushara B'Losh Chachamim, meaning that in Kisi Adam, as opposed to also Vespino, which we got messed up before, right? Rebbe accepted Reb Shimon, who holds in Kisi Adam that shchita sheina ruya lav shei shchita. So Gemara answers, Lomi boy come, Lomi boy say trof. Rebbe didn't even bother telling him to make the bird into a treifa because that was pashut, that shchita shena real of shchita, because Rebbe accepted Reb Shimon, and therefore there would be no chiyuv of kisi adam. Avolt say unachar. You might have thought that maybe Rebbe holds that say unachar was not an option because that's a valid shchita. How could nechira be a valid shchita? Ema ein shchita liof min Torah unechirasa zui shchita so. Okay, then I'll let you get some rest. It's almost midnight. And tomorrow I think we'll shoot for 10 a.m. Is that it?
10. Okay.
Okay. We don't want to do too late because it's Erev Shabbos. We don't want to do too early because I'm not up to it. And the Mitzvah Hashem, we should have a good Geula Shlema soon. Amen.